Hey everybody, Chris with Bear Dynamics here. I wanted to take a few minutes to go over our brand new Bear Dynamics Juvenile Trauma Kit. I wanted to go over and open it up with you, look at some of the components, and specifically talk about why we chose these pieces to fill this kit out with. You know, what's the difference between this and just a regular old trauma kit? Maybe some of you have some you keep in your vehicle or on your person. If you're a first responder, some of you carry it on ankle kits or in maybe a kit on your vest or whatever. Okay, so one of the first things I'm going to talk about, and I've had a question about this a time or two, why don't you vacuum seal your kits? And you'll see this is about an 8.5 by 4.5 inch resealable bag. And one of the reasons I do that is you can open up your kits. Okay, you can see the expiration dates. You can have things, if there's a piece in here that you don't particularly like, you can change it out with something else. All right. Open up your kits. Get to know all of your pieces. You know, as you see, I package these, you know, factory. So, I mean, all these pieces are still in their factory sealing. And you'll see that as we open this up. But as you open up your own kit, you might want to prep your tourniquet. You might want to take your shears out of the container so they're ready to go. You get to pack it the way you want and the way you're familiar. You should always be ready to go with your kit. You shouldn't have to guess and look through every little piece just to find what you're looking for. Alright, so let's move on here. As you can see, we have the one sticker that's on here. If it would focus, there we go. So this is for use on juvenile pediatric victims of trauma. Components selected with consideration to principles and guidelines on the pediatric trauma by the Committee for Tactical Emergency Casualty Care, the Hartford Consensus, and the Stop the Bleed Initiative. So if you don't know, the Committee for the Tactical Emergency Casualty Care is like the it's like civilian version of TCCC, or Tactical Combat Casualty Care. They set a lot of standards, and they have a particular set of guidelines and principles which a lot of people adhere to. I adhere to them as we go through some of our education courses. They're the same principles we adhere to there, and we actually get to use their logo in some of our courses. So those are the reasons really why I picked that. And you know, I'll put a link in the description below. You guys can check out their pediatric trauma care guidelines. Okay. This second sticker is just going to be all the components. And lastly, that's just my card inside. So in case you need to reorder, you have a question, something's not up to par. Also, if you use one of my kits in a real world scenario and you save a life, I will replace the part for free. That's what these kits are for. If you save a life, I will replace the part that you used. You shouldn't have to be worried about using your own kit because it's too much money. You shouldn't have to worry, oh, is this really the situation I need to use this in? If you're thinking about it, use it, and I'll replace it. You shouldn't have to worry about that, okay? Let's move on. We're going to open up this kit here. The first thing we're going to see is a ratcheting medical tourniquet. All right, this is made by M2 Incorporated. You can see it's a lot different than a standard other tourniquet. Maybe a cat or a soft tee that has a windlass, or even the SWAT tee, which is way different. It's just a piece of elastic that you wrap around. Now this is really beneficial, and one of the reasons I love this, especially for pediatric victims, it can be self-applied. Right now, if you were to open this up, it would look a lot like this here. This is the military and law enforcement 2-inch wide version, okay? We open this up. That's your loop that you put your limb through. So just for posterity here. Okay. This here is actually a bite strap. So if you put this on your arm, you're able to bite this down, and you can pull your extra piece. Okay? Or if you need to put it on your leg, put your foot down on this longer piece. Grab this loop with your other hand and pull, and it will cinch. And again, one of the great things about this is once you have this cinched down, it doesn't have a windlass. Okay? So here's a cat-like tourniquet here. Once you have this on you, you would end up turning this windlass to make pressure. Okay? And you see it kind of takes a little bit of dexterity to it. All right. Once you have it in, you have to secure it here. When you're self-applying this, you're not going to have that much dexterity. You're not going to have that much control over your fine motor skills. Kids especially. All right, we talk about the body alarm reaction in our combat mindset class that we're going to be offering. Okay, one of the first things to go, even in adults, is going to be the loss of fine motor function. Okay, this is where gross motor function comes into play. This is a mechanically tightening apparatus here. Okay, so really, even if you took your palm, it's mechanical pressure. As it gets tightened, it doesn't take any more pressure to secure this as it did the first time I manipulated this function here. Okay, and once it's tight, it stays tight. You don't have to secure the windlass into a clamp like you do on that cat or a softie, and it's easy to undo. One of the other reasons I love these tourniquets, and it'll be great for your juveniles, is if once you open this up, you prepare this, you can use this for training over and over and over again. Now you can see on this cat that I just used, this piece, and I only turned it twice here, it's already getting stretched out. Once you use these for training over and over, they lose their tension. So you have to actually designate this a training tourniquet. And that just costs more money, costs more time, you know, and you're losing some of that ability to be familiar with your kit because you're going to be using a different tourniquet in your kit than you would in your training. This one you can use all the time for training. Reuse it, reuse it, reuse it. It won't stretch out. Okay? I love these. Okay, moving on. Okay, I've got this survival rescue blanket here. One of the reasons I throw this is because pediatric patients need to be kept warm. One of the major issues they run into is hypothermia, if you can believe it. So once you've got your patient stable or secure, you've stopped the bleeding, you've started the breathing, you've protected the wound, now we need to treat for shock. That includes hypothermia. This rescue blanket is a way to help that once you've waited for emergency medical people to arrive and take them to definitive care. So this is an important piece as well. That's another reason if you look on the Committee for Tactical Emergency Casualty Care, this is something they recommend. Okay. Small focus gloves. Why small gloves? Well, if this is for a juvenile and they're going to be carrying it, you know, it's not always going to be applied to them. They could be applying this to you, depending on what it is. I've considered putting an additional pair of large gloves or whatever you want in there. That way whoever's treating a juvenile can use those gloves for personal protection. It's just another consideration. But I want the kids to be able to glove up and practice that protective posture that they would need in any other traumatic event. Moving on. Okay. Small 4-inch pair of trauma shears. Okay. Again, small for the small-handed juvenile. Okay. These are just enough. I suppose you can cut off a t-shirt with these. I doubt you're going to get through a whole lot of jeans. Just as a comparison, these are the full-size ones I usually keep in my kits. So you can see there's a significant difference. But this is going to be great. And another reason I have these, kids are wearing these gloves, they're practicing, and they go to open some of these components, especially some of the things that are already sealed and you're going to stay sealed until you use them. This is going to be useful. You cut the start of it, they're going to be able to open up those pieces just as easily. Let's move on. Oops. H&H compressed coil. Okay, this is for your wound packings. So we've taken care of our limb injuries with the tourniquet. We've got our junctions now that we need to pack with gauze. That's where this comes in. It's about 4.1 yards, which is standard. Any other kind of compressed gauze you find is going to be just about this length. Okay, it's pretty thin. It's not very heavy. Okay, but once you open this, this will kind of expand. You start packing that into whatever wound you have in your junctions. That's what that's for, okay? Alright. Emergency pressure dressing. This can be used over top of those junction wounds, maybe on the limb, wherever you've got another injury that you're going to want to put some pressure on. Okay, even once you've taken care of some bleeding with your tourniquet, you even put this on a limb just to kind of give double down on it. Put pressure on that, start soaking up the blood. All right. Nasopharyngeal airway. Now, as you look at those guidelines and principles on the C-TECC, you're going to know very quickly that along with hypothermia, hemorrhage control, airway is huge for a pediatric or juvenile victim. Okay, so this is a small diameter. This is a 22F diameter nasopharyngeal airway. It's used, it goes down into the nasal orifice, and it allows to open up an airway where you otherwise wouldn't be able to get one with the head tilt, chin lift, anything like that. So it goes down and it opens up the airway. So that goes with the lubricant, allows you to apply a little bit of the lubricant here to the end, and as you insert this airway into the nasal orifice, it will lubricate itself the whole way up and give you a good clean entry. Okay, so we covered the airway. One of the last pieces we have is the high vent compact chest seal. Alright, so now we're into the body part of your injuries. So anytime you have extremity wounds, you use your tourniquet and your pressure dressing. And your junctures, like your armpits and hip, you use those compressed gauze in your pressure dressing. So now we are into the stomach or the chest. Here those chest seals come into play. And this will help you with collapsed lung, tension pneumothorax, and there's two here. Now in comparison, here are the high fin regular size ones. Alright, so obviously juveniles, they have a smaller body. There's no need to go that large. So again, this is just a consideration you're going to want to make as you purchase this kit. Is it what size person are you using this for? Now there are two of them here for both an entry or an exit wound. If you have multiple entry and exit wounds, you can obviously use these plastic pieces themselves. You can even use the plastic that it came in. Any one of these things you can use to secure a sucking chest wound or open chest wound, whatever it may be. Okay? Okay, everyone, so these are the components to the juvenile trauma kit. I hope you learned a little bit of something, why particularly these components were chosen and selected and labeled as a juvenile trauma kit. Some of the more specific injuries that a juvenile would get in initial care as they're on their way to a definitive care into the ambulance to the hospital. What are the things we need to look out? Hemorrhage control, hypothermia, airway, obviously more of the hemorrhage control, chest seal. Those are the things that are truly detrimental to a pediatric trauma victim. So those are why these particular kits are put together the way they are. This tourniquet here, I can't say enough about it. The ability to train with it over and over. You can put it on one-handed, on a leg, on an arm, one-handed. The gross motor function skill, the mechanical locking nature of it, as it gets tighter, it doesn't get it increasingly harder to manipulate. It's just the same pressure the whole way across. This is huge. I love these tourniquets. I'll put a link in the description here. This was tested by the Naval Sea Systems Command, and they've done a great job reviewing this. I'll put that in the link below as well. Alright, that's it. All I have for now. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it cleared up any questions. And if you have any further questions, complaints, leave them in the comments below. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're watching it on my website, please feel free to email me. You can find me on the contact page or any one of our social media pages. Thank you very much for your time. Be safe, be prepared.